What if I told you that Edgar Cayce, the most documented psychic in American history, revealed something so staggering about your soul's purpose that it challenges everything you've been taught about fate, free will, and the meaning of life? What if the life you're living right now, your relationships, challenges, even your greatest struggles, were part of a detailed plan your soul agreed to before you were even born? According to Cayce, you didn't arrive on Earth randomly. You made choices guided by spiritual beings, karmic patterns, and soul-level intentions. These choices formed a sacred document known as your soul contract, written in the etheric realms before you incarnated. And it's not just mysticism. Cayce's readings lay out this pre-birth process with startling clarity, naming timelines, spiritual beings involved, and even the specific lessons you signed up to learn. Before we dive into these powerful revelations from over 14,000 documented readings, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Because what you're about to learn could transform how you see your entire life journey, your pain, your gifts, and your highest purpose. Have you ever felt like certain people were meant to be in your life? Like certain events weren't coincidences, but part of something deeper? Cayce confirmed that these are echoes of your soul contract, unfolding in divine timing. Today, we'll uncover how your soul chose your family, your body, your major life events, and even your exit strategy, all with spiritual purpose. This is not about destiny controlling you. It's about you remembering the sacred agreement you helped write before your soul touched Earth, long before your first breath in this life, before your body took form, before your name was chosen. There was a moment of stillness. In Cayce's readings, this moment exists within what he called the spiritual realms, states of consciousness beyond physical reality, where souls retreat after each incarnation. It is not a void, nor a simple rest. It is a highly active space of reflection, healing, and alignment, a realm where the soul gently reawakens to its truer identity beyond the temporary masks of human life. Cayce emphasized that in this in-between state, the soul is not asleep, nor fully active in the way we experience activity here. Rather, it is aware in a different sense, aware of its eternal nature, of the karmic ripples it created, and of its deep longing to grow. In this phase, the soul undergoes what Cayce called a review, an immersive reliving of the most recent earthly life. Not as judgment, but as understanding. The review is not imposed by a godlike figure pointing a finger of condemnation. It is a self-reflective process in which the soul sees the energetic consequences of its choices, both loving and unloving, from the perspective of all involved. Every thought, word, and action is not only remembered, but refelt. If the soul had caused pain, it now feels that pain, not as punishment, but as awareness. If it had offered kindness, it bathes in that light again. This awareness becomes the foundation upon which future growth is planned, not in shame or regret, but in clarity and opportunity. And yet, this realm is not static. Cayce described multiple spheres or dimensions within these spiritual planes, each corresponding to different levels of soul awareness and spiritual vibration. Some souls remain close to the earthly vibration, still attached to old desires or unresolved emotions. Others ascend into higher frequencies, where learning is more fluid, where the soul converses with guides, counsels, and what Cayce referred to as elder souls, beings with deep wisdom who assist in planning the next steps. These are not abstract concepts, but real presences in the soul's journey. Their guidance does not command, but lovingly advises. It is here that the soul's free will is both honored and illuminated by higher insight. As the soul stabilizes in this space, the longing to return, to grow through new challenges, to balance old patterns, to serve others through love emerges. This is not a forced reincarnation, but a choice, a sacred impulse to evolve. Cayce was clear. souls are not thrown into lives randomly. Each incarnation is initiated by desire, not always conscious desire, but soul-level intention, often influenced by karma, unresolved patterns, and the soul's inner knowing of what it must now become. Gradually, this desire crystallizes into intention. The soul begins to perceive the broad themes of its next incarnation. What lessons do I need to learn? What tendencies do I need to overcome? What gifts am I ready to offer? This stage is often supported by a process of alignment during which the soul consults with guides and engages in what could be called pre-birth counseling. In these conversations, far more real and nuanced than we might imagine, the soul explores the possible shapes its next life might take. It may consider different timelines, families, locations, and even potential soul companions, other souls it has known across lifetimes, who may join again in different roles. A mother, a rival, a teacher, a child. The choice of circumstances is rarely arbitrary. A soul might choose to be born into poverty, not as punishment, but to cultivate empathy or to transcend attachment to material things. Another may choose a body with physical limitations, not because it deserves suffering, but because that experience may open the door to deeper compassion, resilience, or service. Even apparent setbacks, childhood trauma, rejection, or loss may be chosen from a broader soul perspective as catalysts for awakening. Cayce often emphasized that from the earthly view, these things seem cruel or chaotic, but from the soul's vantage, they are meaningful, deeply woven into a tapestry of growth. In this planning process, timing is also essential. The soul chooses a moment in linear time that corresponds with astrological and energetic alignments. According to Cayce, these planetary forces do not control the soul, but mirror its inner state and intentions. Being born under certain influences, the nurturing of the moon, the discipline of Saturn, the expansiveness of Jupiter, becomes a symbolic and energetic fingerprint, encoding the soul's path for that lifetime. These forces act not as fate, but as tools. The soul still has free will to respond to them, grow through them, or resist them. Eventually, all elements of the coming incarnation begin to settle into place. The soul group that will accompany it, the culture, the family dynamic, the challenges, the gifts. Cayce noted that even the body itself, the genetic line, the predispositions, the potential health issues, is selected in alignment with what the soul needs to experience or master. And though the soul will forget much of this agreement upon birth, the imprint remains. A deep intuitive memory, hidden beneath layers of personality and conditioning, will echo throughout the life as nudges, dreams, déjà vu, or inner callings. This entire process is not hurried. In some cases, a soul may wait decades or even centuries before reincarnating. In others, the call to return is immediate. It depends on the readiness, the spiritual need, and the larger cycles at play in both the individual soul's journey and the collective evolution of humanity. For while each soul is unique, Cayce made it clear that we are never isolated. Our contracts are not only personal, they are relational. Every soul's journey is interwoven with others, contributing to a vast, co-creative unfolding dot as the soul prepares to transition from the spiritual realms into another earthly incarnation. It does not do so in isolation. While the initial stirrings of desire and intention arise from within the soul itself, the actual shaping of a life path unfolds within a higher council of wisdom, an assembly of advanced spiritual beings who serve not as judges, but as luminous advisors. Cayce often referred to this assembly as a kind of karmic board or council of guides, composed of entities who have transcended the need for physical incarnation and who now dedicate themselves to helping other souls grow in alignment with divine law. These beings are not distant or impersonal. They are deeply familiar with the soul's journey, often having traveled alongside it through multiple lifetimes. Some are ancient teachers, others may have once been close companions in previous incarnations. Their guidance arises not from superiority, but from compassion and insight born of vast experience. When a soul stands at the threshold of rebirth, it meets with this counsel in what Cayce described as a sacred process of life design, an exchange of possibilities rather than commands. The soul is not handed a script. It is offered a map of potential timelines, each one carrying different lessons, opportunities, and karmic resolutions. These are not dictated outcomes, but living paths, malleable and organic, that the soul is free to explore, question, and even alter. One path may involve facing rejection to learn self-worth. Another might include power or wealth as a test of humility. The counsel helps the soul weigh these paths, not in terms of comfort or suffering, but in terms of spiritual utility. What will allow the soul to grow? What will best serve its evolution and contribute to the growth of others? Karma plays a central role in this conversation, but not in the simplistic sense of reward and punishment. Cayce emphasized that karma is not a sentence, it is a teacher. It is the energetic residue of past choices, both helpful and harmful, that now seeks balance. The counsel helps the soul understand which aspects of unresolved karma are ready to be addressed in the next life, and which may require further preparation. If a soul caused harm in a past life, it may choose to experience the receiving end of similar actions not as punishment, but to develop empathy and integrate wisdom. Similarly, a soul that demonstrated great love or service may now be given the chance to step into greater responsibility or offer guidance to others. But these karmic threads are not considered in isolation. The soul's larger arc, its long-term evolution across many lifetimes, is always taken into account. There may be recurring themes the soul is gradually mastering, such as forgiveness, courage, or the ability to live authentically. The counsel gently reminds the soul of these deeper intentions and helps align the new incarnation with them. It's a process not unlike composing a symphony. Past notes are reviewed, current chords are selected, and the melody of the next movement begins to take shape. At times, souls are invited to take on roles that stretch them significantly. The counsel may offer opportunities that seem daunting, even painful, not to burden the soul but to accelerate its growth. These may include lives involving illness, betrayal, loss, or injustice. In such cases, the soul agrees not from masochism or guilt, but from a deep sense of readiness. It understands that through these trials, latent spiritual capacities can be awakened. Cayce insisted that nothing is ever forced. Even when a soul agrees to challenging experiences, it does so with full consent, though much of this memory is veiled at birth to preserve the integrity of the human experience. The counsel also helps determine which souls will intersect in the upcoming life. Relationships are rarely random. The mother, the brother, the romantic partner, the rival at work all may be part of a shared soul group. Souls who incarnate together repeatedly in varying roles to assist one another's development. In some lifetimes, the soul may play the role of the nurturer. In others, the challenger. The counsel assists in coordinating these intersections, ensuring that each soul's contract aligns with the others in mutual service to growth. Even the timing of incarnation is coordinated with the counsel's help. Certain historical moments or collective conditions on Earth may offer unique lessons or opportunities. A soul may choose to be born during a war to cultivate inner peace, or in an era of innovation to bring through new ideas. With the counsel's assistance, the soul selects a moment in time that resonates with its intended contribution and its karmic alignment. This dialogue with the counsel marks one of the most pivotal moments in the pre-birth process, not because it binds the soul to a fate, but because it crystallizes the intentions that will shape the upcoming journey. It is a co-creative act of spiritual architecture, one grounded in love, wisdom, and profound respect for the soul's autonomy. As the soul's consultation with the council reaches its closing stages, the impressions of choices, intentions, and possibilities begin to take on form, not as a fixed narrative, but as a structured agreement, rich with purpose and encoded with meaning. This is what Cayce described as the soul contract, a sacred, multidimensional blueprint drafted not in ink but in energy, intention, and spiritual resonance. Far from being a rigid script, the soul contract serves more like a dynamic framework. It contains the essential themes, agreements, and markers the soul commits to experiencing in the lifetime ahead, not as obligation, but as opportunity. Each soul contract is unique, shaped by the soul's evolution, karmic history, and current readiness for growth. Yet within these ethereal documents are common elements, echoed throughout Cayce's thousands of readings. At the core of every contract is the soul's primary intention, its central aim for the incarnation. This intention acts as a guiding light, even when the soul, once incarnated, forgets the details. It may be the intention to learn unconditional love, to reclaim one's power, to resolve lingering guilt, to develop trust, or to awaken spiritual gifts long dormant. These core intentions are the foundation upon which the rest of the contract is built. Next comes the review and selection of karmic balances. These are the echoes from prior lives, unfinished business, unresolved energies, or imbalances that now seek harmony. But Cayce was careful to emphasize that karma is not just a ledger of mistakes. It also includes the soul's positive seeds, such as wisdom, compassion, artistic talents, or healing abilities, which can now be nurtured further. In the soul contract, certain experiences will be aligned to bring these karmic elements forward. A person who once misused power may now agree to be in a position where integrity is tested. Another who was abandoned may choose a family dynamic that triggers early feelings of rejection, creating an opportunity to transcend victimhood and rediscover wholeness from within. Relationships, perhaps more than any other aspect, are written into the soul contract with deep care and precision. Cayce's readings often referred to these soul-level bonds as sacred, agreements, prearranged encounters designed for mutual growth. These may manifest as parents, children, spouses, close friends, adversaries, or even brief but pivotal connections. Each relationship serves as a mirror, reflecting not only the soul's light but also its unhealed places. The contract does not guarantee how a relationship will unfold, since free will remains intact, but it does seed the potential for powerful transformation. Many of the most difficult relationships, Cayce noted, are actually born of ancient love souls, agreeing to challenge each other for the sake of deeper growth. Alongside relationships are the selection of key life events. These events may appear as milestones, crises, achievements, losses, or awakenings. Some are neutral, others deeply charged with emotion, yet each is designed to activate a specific soul lesson. A debilitating illness may be written into the contract to cultivate inner strength or surrender. A devastating loss may open the heart to a greater capacity for empathy. The loss is not inflicted by the universe as a cruel test, but entered into willingly by the soul who understands the transformative power hidden within that pain. In this way, suffering is not random, it becomes a kind of soul technology for awakening. Challenges are another essential ingredient. Contrary to the belief that an enlightened soul seeks ease, Cayce described how evolved souls often choose lives of greater complexity, not because they enjoy pain, but because they seek growth with more depth. Challenges might involve social injustice, personal betrayal, addiction, depression, or physical limitation. These experiences, while agonizing from the human perspective, offer the soul profound openings. They are invitations, Cayce said, for remembering divine truth in the face of illusion. The soul contract may include specific inflection points, moments in the life when certain challenges will arise to redirect the personality toward its deeper path. These are not punishments, but course corrections, and woven through all of this is timing. Certain opportunities are encoded to arise at particular phases of life. Childhood traumas that awaken the wounded healer archetype, midlife crises that push one into spiritual awakening, or elder years that offer the harvest of a lifetime's inner work. Even geographic moves, career changes, or encounters with particular symbols or teachings can be part of the contract. Cayce affirmed that many such details are written not to lock the soul into fate, but to ensure that signposts appear along the path, reminding the incarnated self of what it came to do. The contract also allows for flexibility. While its major themes are outlined before birth, the specifics are left to unfold according to free will. A soul may be presented with a lesson repeatedly in different forms until it is integrated. If the soul resists the path at one fork in the road, life will redirect. This is why, according to Cayce, the contract includes not only predetermined experiences, but also alternate routes. Life, as he said, is a laboratory for the soul. What matters is not whether one perfectly fulfills the contract, but whether one moves closer to the soul's highest intention through whatever choices are made, even one's exit from life. The death moment is included in this agreement. Though Cayce explained that multiple exit points may be available, the soul often chooses a general window for departure based on the completion of lessons or the soul's role in the lives of others. Death, then, is not a failure or a surprise from the soul's view. It is a return, aligned with what was agreed upon before the body was even born. Once the contract begins to solidify, shaped by the soul's intentions, karmic considerations, relational dynamics, and major life experiences, attention turns to something far more intimate, the vessel through which the soul will navigate the physical world. Cayce's readings reveal that the soul does not arbitrarily receive a body, nor is it randomly assigned a personality. Rather, both are carefully chosen in alignment with what the soul intends to accomplish in that lifetime. The body is not simply a container. It is a reflection of spiritual strategy, a kind of organic architecture built to house and express the soul's agenda. The soul begins by selecting the genetic line through which it will enter the world. This includes the mother and father, but also the ancestral stream, the accumulated patterns, strengths, and unresolved energies flowing through a particular family tree. Cayce noted that souls often choose to incarnate into lineages that mirror their unfinished karmic threads, offering both the challenges and the tools needed to address them. For example, a soul seeking to heal abandonment may choose a family with a history of emotional distance. Another working on forgiveness might be born into a lineage marked by betrayal or separation. These inherited patterns are not flaws, but part of the design, part of what the soul comes to engage and eventually transform. The physical body itself, its strengths, weaknesses, predispositions, and even appearance is chosen in relation to the soul's intentions. Cayce's readings described how some souls select bodies with physical challenges, such as illness, disability, or sensitivity, as a means of deepening inner resources or triggering spiritual awakening. These limitations are not punishments or accidents, but conscious agreements. They may catalyze compassion, build resilience, or redirect attention inward towards spiritual growth. Conversely, other souls may choose bodies with exceptional abilities, high intelligence, beauty, athleticism, or artistic gifts, not for ego gratification, but to fulfill a particular mission. In either case, the traits are not random. They are selected with awareness of how they will influence the journey. But beyond the physical lies the realm of temperament, the emotional and psychological wiring of the personality. Cayce taught that the soul chooses certain temperamental qualities before birth, again in harmony with the soul's contract. A soul seeking to overcome fear may choose a sensitive and anxious disposition in early life, presenting the opportunity to gradually cultivate inner peace. One working on leadership may choose a fiery, intense temperament that must be refined in the conscious direction rather than raw force. The personality's raw materials, its tendencies, vulnerabilities, and strengths are like instruments given to the soul to master. They are not set in stone, but they do offer a starting point. This design extends to mental and emotional patterns, including habits of perception. Some people are born naturally optimistic, others more skeptical or cautious. Some are wired for empathy, others for analytical detachment. Cayce emphasized that these psychological frameworks are not simply products of upbringing or environment. They are soul-level choices, configured in the pre-birth state for specific growth paths. Often, the qualities we struggle with most, like impulsivity, self-doubt, or reactivity, are precisely the ones we came to understand and integrate. Even the timing and conditions of birth, astrological influences, planetary alignments, cultural background interweave with this design. Cayce saw astrology not as deterministic but symbolic, offering insight into the soul's vibration at the time of incarnation. These influences can support or challenge the soul's path, depending on how they are engaged. They act as mirrors, not masters, reflecting the energetic imprint of the soul's intentions as it crosses the threshold into life. All of this, the body, the mind, the heart, is crafted with purpose. The soul does not expect perfection from these tools, but seeks through them the chance to become more conscious, more compassionate, more whole. The design is not a prison, but a palette, a way for spirit to paint its lessons onto the canvas of the human experience. Just as the body and personality are not haphazardly assigned, neither are the people and places into which a soul is born. Cayce's readings repeatedly emphasize that every element of the incarnational context is chosen with care. This includes not only the physical form, but the relational web into which that form will emerge, the family dynamic, the cultural backdrop, the environment. These elements become the soul's first teachers and mirrors, shaping the early lens through which life will be perceived and experienced. And though many of these conditions may seem challenging, even unfair, they are rarely without a deeper reason. The selection of parents is perhaps one of the most significant choices a soul makes before birth. In Cayce's view, this choice is rarely accidental. It reflects not only karmic threads carried over from previous lives, but also opportunities for profound learning and healing. Parents may serve as caretakers, catalysts, or karmic partners. Sometimes the soul returns to parents it has known before, drawn by love or unfinished business. Other times, it chooses a new family with specific dynamics that echo the lessons it most needs to face. For instance, a soul seeking to heal issues of control might choose parents with strong authoritarian tendencies. One working on self-worth might be born to emotionally distant or critical caretakers, not as punishment, but as a field in which to remember its own inner value. This principle extends to siblings as well. Cayce often described families as karmic cluster soul groups who reincarnate together across lifetimes, exchanging roles to balance and complete emotional debts or unfinished agreements. A sibling who feels like a rival in one life may have once been a close ally or even a parent. In this life, their friction may be the perfect trigger for learning cooperation, forgiveness, or healthy boundaries. While the specific form of these dynamics shift from life to life, the underlying purpose remains consistent: to evolve through relationship. And because familial bonds are so intimate and emotionally charged, they provide fertile ground for some of the most accelerated growth. Geography, too, is chosen with intention. Where the soul is born, its country, culture, environment is part of the larger energetic configuration supporting its contract. Cayce indicated that souls are drawn to specific places not only for the experiences they will bring, but because of the collective vibration of the land itself. A soul may choose to incarnate in a region affected by war, injustice, or scarcity, not as a victim, but as one whose presence may bring change, healing, or new perspective. Another may be drawn to a more peaceful environment in order to stabilize, reflect, or access deeper spiritual insight. Even the climate and natural surroundings can influence the soul's unfolding, nurturing certain qualities while challenging others. Cultural context adds another layer. A soul that needs to work on self-expression might choose a society that represses voice or discourages authenticity, forcing the inner fire to grow stronger. Another may seek to incarnate into a time and place of great transition moments in history where change is ripe so it can contribute to a collective awakening. Cayce noted that some souls come in during times of great tension, precisely because they have mastered certain lessons in previous lives and are now ready to assist others. Thus, being born into conflict or oppression may not be a sign of a soul's low evolution, but of its readiness to serve under pressure. Even the economic and social conditions surrounding birth are part of the soul's planning. A soul that has previously relied on material wealth may choose poverty to cultivate inner resourcefulness. One that has experienced neglect may choose a stable, nurturing home to restore balance. These choices are often made with the input of guides and counsels who help the soul align its conditions with its contract. The aim is never to trap the soul in suffering, but to create an environment where the most essential growth can occur. What may seem like chance of birth order, a childhood home, the city where one is raised, is rarely arbitrary. Each piece is an entry point into the life the soul has prepared for. And because free will operates within this design, it is never about controlling every moment, but about offering a path rich with purpose. The people and places we begin with do not define us, but they do initiate the journey. They are the settings and co-actors with whom the soul has agreed to play out this portion of its great unfolding. Once the soul has selected its body, family, environment, and key relationships, what emerges is not just a backdrop for experience, but a living stage upon which particular life themes will unfold core, emotional and spiritual patterns that carry the essence of what the soul came to learn, practice, resolve, or embody. According to Cayce, these recurring themes are far from coincidental. They are deliberately chosen before birth as part of the soul's unique curriculum. Just as a student selects a set of classes based on long-term goals, the soul selects its challenges and blessings based on what it most needs to integrate or express in the coming life. These life themes are diverse in form but unified in function. They are catalysts for soul growth. Some individuals spend much of their lives navigating the terrain of abandonment, seeking to transform wounds of neglect into a deep inner sense of worthiness and self-trust. Others are steeped in lessons of betrayal, learning to differentiate between naive trust and conscious discernment. In both cases, the pain is real and often repeated, not because the universe is cruel, but because the soul has chosen to experience that dynamic from multiple angles until the deeper wisdom is fully embodied. Themes involving success and failure are equally profound. Cayce emphasized that the soul often chooses to wrestle with ambition, achievement, and worldly power not simply to win, but to understand what true success means at the spiritual level. For some, this means rising to great heights and learning humility or stewardship. For others, it means facing repeated obstacles and discovering inner value that is not contingent on external validation. In either path, the lesson is never just about material gain. It's about uncovering who we become in the process of striving, falling, recovering, and redefining what matters. Love is another central theme, and one that Cayce returned to often. Many soul contracts include lessons in giving and receiving love, not only in romantic relationships, but through family, friendship, community, and even self-love. A soul that has misused love or clung to it possessively in previous lives may return in this life to experience love with more freedom, compassion, or detachment. Some may find themselves longing for love that never fully arrives, not as punishment, but to turn the longing inward, awakening the heart to unconditional love that does not depend on outer forms. Cayce spoke of love not as an emotional reward, but as a spiritual capacity, something we develop, test, refine, and eventually radiate. Themes around illness and health are equally rich with purpose. Physical challenges, mental health struggles, or chronic conditions are often encoded into the contract to teach surrender, patience, presence, or the activation of healing gifts. Cayce was clear. Illness is not necessarily the result of wrongdoing. In past lives, though karma can be a factor, more often it is a chosen arena where the soul can explore vulnerability, resilience, and service. Many who suffer become healers, advocates, or quiet anchors of compassion because of what they've endured. The wound, in this context, becomes the gateway. Another theme Cayce explored was power, the use and misuse of it. Souls that once wielded power irresponsibly may now choose lives where their influence is limited, forcing them to earn trust and authority through inner integrity. Others may again find themselves in leadership roles, this time with the chance to lead from wisdom rather than ego. Power, like all major themes, is not inherently good or bad. It is a force that tests and reveals the soul's level of maturity. Spiritual awakening itself can be a central life theme. Some souls come into the world already carrying a deep memory of the spiritual realms, and their lives are oriented around reactivating this awareness through study, meditation, service, or mystical experience. Others may be born into materialistic or skeptical environments and spend years resisting the pull of spirit, only to awaken later through crisis, loss, or an inexplicable inner calling. In both cases, the path is part of the contract, with specific moments often designed to crack open the shell of forgetfulness. Cayce noted that many awakening souls experience periods of depression or disillusionment before a deeper light begins to emerge. These are not signs of failure, but evidence that the soul is moving closer to its deeper truth. Though each soul chooses a primary theme or two, Cayce acknowledged that multiple threads often run simultaneously. A person may be navigating both abandonment and spiritual awakening, or love and power, or illness and forgiveness. These themes weave together, intersecting and amplifying one another. They show up in relationships, careers, dreams, synchronicities, and sometimes even in the recurring symbols or patterns that haunt our lives. The repetition is intentional. The soul is not trying to torture itself, but to master a lesson so fully that it no longer needs to be repeated. This curriculum is not always consciously remembered, but it leaves traces in our deepest longings, our recurring struggles, and our quiet moments of knowing. The soul speaks through these patterns, inviting us to look beyond the surface of events and into the deeper tapestry of meaning they are part of. When we begin to see our lives through this lens, what once seemed chaotic can begin to feel purposeful. Pain becomes a teacher. Joy becomes a confirmation. The soul's contract begins to whisper through our experiences, reminding us that everything unfolding is part of the sacred plan we once chose, because we believed in our capacity to grow through it all. Understanding that our lives are shaped by a soul contract chosen before birth may inspire awe. But it often raises another question, one that Cayce addressed with particular clarity. If so much has been planned, our relationships, challenges, even our bodies, what room is left for free will? This question, far from undermining the soul contract, actually animates it. Cayce made it clear that free will is not an afterthought or a loophole. It is central to the unfolding of the contract itself. Without it, the soul would merely be acting out a script. With it, the soul co-authors the story in real time, moment by moment. The contract outlines themes, not chains. While certain life events may be fixed in the sense that they are part of the soul's chosen curriculum, such as a key relationship, a traumatic turning point, or a destined encounter, the response to those events is entirely open. Two souls may experience abandonment, but one becomes bitter and closed, while the other becomes deeply compassionate. The contract may present a particular lesson, but how we receive, resist, or integrate that lesson is fluid. Cayce described life as a field of continual choice, where each moment offers the soul a chance to realign with its highest intention or to delay its growth. Either path is allowed. There are no cosmic punishments for choosing slowly, only the natural consequences of resisting or postponing a lesson. Even within major life themes, there is room to maneuver. A soul may have chosen to explore power, for instance, but that exploration might unfold in many ways a high-stakes career, a personal relationship, or even a struggle with self-worth. Free will influences not only the path, but the tone and pace. Some people awaken early, moving swiftly into their lessons with clarity. Others circle around the same pattern for decades. Cayce did not see this as failure, but as part of the human experience. He often emphasized that time itself is a tool for learning, not a yardstick for judgment. Relationships also carry this dynamic tension. While certain soul connections may be contractually significant, agreed upon in the pre-birth state, the depth, duration, and quality of those relationships depend on mutual free will. A soulmate may be encountered and then lost due to fear or timing. A challenging family member may be forgiven and transformed, or rejected and avoided. The opportunity is always present, but whether it becomes a blessing or a burden depends on how each individual meets it. This is why Cayce spoke of life as a laboratory, not a courtroom. Every interaction becomes a kind of experiment in consciousness, a chance to test, learn, and adjust. Even so-called exit points, windows of potential death, can shift based on choices made. Some people survive close brushes with death, only to later realize that the experience reoriented them toward their soul's path. Others feel their lives end prematurely, not because they failed, but because they completed what they came to do. The contract may include these junctions, but free will determines whether we meet them in alignment or in resistance. What ultimately remains fixed, then, are not the events themselves, but the soul-level intentions underlying them. These are like the gravitational pull that keeps the soul tethered to its purpose, even when it wanders. They reappear in dreams, synchronicities, emotional triggers, and longing. When we veer too far from our path, life may feel increasingly off-kilter, not as punishment, but as a subtle call to course correct. And so, rather than seeing the soul contract and free will as opposing forces, Cayce framed them as collaborative. The contract provides structure. Free will provides movement. The contract offers invitations. Free will chooses how to RSVP. Together, they form the sacred dance of a life, lived both in mystery and in meaning. Just as the interplay between free will and soul contracts forms the dynamic canvas of an individual's life, so too do the connections we make with others. In fact, Cayce's readings reveal that much of our soul's growth is not accomplished in isolation, but through a web of prearranged relationships, soul agreements forged before birth. These are not casual interactions. They are intentional. Alignments, sometimes gentle, sometimes jarring, but always purposeful. We do not simply stumble into the arms of a soulmate, nor do we randomly clash with an adversary. These encounters are often reflections, mirrors crafted from mutual need and agreed upon growth. Cayce emphasized that many people in our lives are not new to us. We've traveled with them through previous lifetimes, exchanging roles, shifting dynamics, and evolving together through an ongoing spiritual dance. Before reincarnating, souls come together to plan these key interactions. Some agree to be partners. Others choose the role of teacher, challenger, or even betrayer, not out of malice, but as part of a higher blueprint designed to provoke insight, healing, or transformation. It is not always comfortable. In fact, many of these soul agreements involve triggering our deepest wounds so that we can finally face and integrate them. The most significant soul contracts often involve those who mirror what we least want to see. A critical parent may reflect an unresolved self-worth issue from a past life. A manipulative partner may catalyze a dormant strength we've been afraid to claim. A mentor might arrive just when we're ready to remember our purpose. None of this occurs by chance. These interactions are embedded in the soul's curriculum, and while we may not remember signing up for them, their presence echoes a familiar gravity. Importantly, these soul agreements are not necessarily lifelong bonds. Some last only moments, a stranger with a message that shifts your path, a short but intense friendship that sparks a new direction. Others stretch across decades, offering the kind of long-term friction or support that refines character. The depth of these relationships is often felt intuitively. There's a resonance, a familiarity, even when the connection is difficult. We sense that something more is at play, a drama rehearsed long before this earthly stage. And yet, just as with the soul contract itself, free will remains an active element. We may have agreed to meet certain souls, but how we respond to them remains ours to choose. A soul who came to teach us forgiveness may ultimately teach us boundaries instead. A soulmate may grow distant if we do not grow with them. The script can be rewritten in real time, always oriented toward growth, but flexible in its execution. According to Cayce, the point of these agreements is not dependency or permanence, but evolution. In this way, the tapestry of human connection reveals its sacred complexity. Beneath the surface of ordinary relationships lies a carefully woven network of soul-level collaborations, each thread contributing to the larger purpose of remembering who we truly are. Despite the profound significance of the soul contract and the careful planning that precedes each incarnation, one of the most intriguing mysteries is why we enter this life with little or no conscious memory of it. Cayce referred to this as the veil of forgetfulness, a necessary protective mechanism that allows the soul to fully immerse itself in the human experience without being overwhelmed by the awareness of its pre-birth agreements. This veil ensures that the personality or ego develops independently, enabling free will to operate authentically without being burdened by predetermined knowledge. This forgetfulness serves a practical and spiritual purpose. Imagine if, from the moment of birth, the weight of the soul contract was fully known and visible. It could interfere with the natural unfolding of choice, potentially making life feel more like a rigid destiny rather than a creative journey. The veil allows the soul to forget so that it can engage with the challenges, relationships, and lessons as fresh experiences, thereby making the growth genuine and earned. This ignorance, paradoxically, becomes the very soil from which authentic spiritual awakening can grow. Yet, even without direct memory, the soul leaves subtle markers and clues to its original intentions. These show up as intuitive nudges, moments of deep recognition, and synchronicities, seemingly coincidental events that carry a larger meaning. Cayce's readings often pointed to the importance of paying attention to these signs as a way to gently lift the veil. Dreams, feelings of déjà vu, sudden insights, and unexpected encounters all serve as reminders, whispering hints of the soul's purpose and agreements. Intuition acts as a bridge between the forgotten contract and the waking self, guiding individuals toward choices and relationships aligned with their deeper path. This inner knowing may not always be loud or clear, but it is persistent, surfacing in moments of stillness, meditation, or heightened emotion. When we learn to listen, these subtle signals help us remember why we are here, rekindling the connection to our soul's plan and encouraging us to live with greater awareness and intention. In this way, forgetting the contract is not a loss, but a sacred design, creating space for free will to dance with destiny and for true discovery to unfold. The veil is not meant to hide the truth forever, but to reveal it slowly as we are ready to receive it. Even though the veil of forgetfulness clouds our conscious memory of the soul contract, Edgar Cayce's readings provide practical pathways for reconnecting with this sacred agreement in everyday life. These tools are not esoteric secrets reserved for mystics, but accessible practices that anyone can use to gently tune into their deeper purpose and realign with the soul's intentions. Through the subtle languages of signs, dreams, meditation, and reflective journaling, we can awaken the dormant wisdom of the contract and find guidance amid life's twists and turns. Dreams, Cayce insisted, are among the most potent gateways to the soul's hidden messages. When the conscious mind rests, the soul's deeper self often communicates through symbolic images, narratives, and emotions. Paying close attention to recurring symbols or feelings in dreams can illuminate areas of the soul contract seeking acknowledgement. For instance, a dream of being lost might point toward a current life theme of identity or belonging. A sudden vision of light or water might symbolize cleansing or renewal. Rather than dismissing dreams as random or trivial, Cayce urged their interpretation as a form of spiritual insight, messages from the subconscious that bridge the forgotten contract and the waking self. Meditation serves as another vital practice to reconnect with the soul contract. By quieting the mind and turning attention inward, meditation creates a receptive space where the noise of daily life falls away and the soul's subtle voice can emerge. Cayce described meditation not just as relaxation, but as a method of attuning oneself to higher frequencies, those vibrational echoes of the soul's original intentions. In meditation, one might receive intuitive nudges, feelings of peace, or flashes of clarity that offer guidance on current decisions or challenges. Regular meditation helps to strengthen this inner connection, allowing the soul contract to be lived more consciously rather than unconsciously enacted. Alongside these inward practices, journaling acts as a powerful companion. Writing down thoughts, feelings, and experiences creates a dialogue between the personality and the soul. Soul journaling, in particular, encourages reflection on patterns, lessons, and synchronicities, making the invisible visible. Over time, themes begin to emerge, and repeated questions or symbols become clear markers pointing toward the contract's unfolding. Cayce suggested that when we write with intention and openness, the act itself can spark healing and insight, turning confusion into clarity. Crucially, all these tools invite us to cultivate a habit of listening to the inner guidance that frequently whispers rather than shouts. This guidance may come as a subtle feeling in the body, an intuitive thought, or an unexpected insight. During routine moments, learning to trust these inner signals requires patience and practice, especially in a world that often prioritizes external validation over inner knowing. But as Cayce's work shows, this trust is key to moving closer to the soul's plan, allowing us to navigate life with greater purpose and alignment. Reconnecting with the soul contract is not about rigidly following a predetermined script, but about awakening to the sacred dance between destiny and choice. These practices do not guarantee a smooth journey, but provide the compass and tools to recognize when we are off course and to gently return to our path. Through signs, dreams, meditation, and journaling, the veil begins to lift, revealing the rich tapestry of meaning woven into our lives. In this ongoing process, we remember that the soul contract is not a static document, but a living, breathing guide that evolves as we evolve. The more we engage with it consciously, the more it reveals itself, not as a weight to bear, but as a source of empowerment, purpose, and peace. Even with the soul contract carefully designed and the inner guidance available, Cayce acknowledged that not every soul follows its pre-birth agreement smoothly. Resistance and delay are common parts of the human experience. This resistance often stems from fear, ego, or entanglements such as addiction forces that can obscure the clarity of the contract and lead the soul temporarily astray. Such detours are not seen as final failures, but as opportunities for learning, provided the soul remains open to healing and realignment. Fear, especially, acts as a powerful barrier. When the soul encounters the daunting lessons inscribed in the contract, whether related to vulnerability, forgiveness, or stepping into power, fear can cause withdrawal or denial. The ego, protective by nature, may reject uncomfortable truths or attempt to control outcomes rigidly, stifling the fluidity and freedom the contract is meant to nurture. Addiction and other compulsive behaviors often arise as attempts to numb pain or avoid facing these difficult lessons, creating further distance from the soul's intended path. Cayce's warnings about these obstacles highlight that ignoring the contract does not erase it. Instead, it often results in repeated challenges, like echoes in the soul's experience, that intensify until the lesson can no longer be sidestepped. Life may become more chaotic, relationships more strained, or health issues more persistent. This can be seen as a form of spiritual friction, pushing the individual toward a turning point where healing becomes possible. Yet, the possibility of healing and return is a cornerstone of Cayce's teachings. Free will remains intact, and the soul can always choose to re-engage with its contract. Healing modalities, whether spiritual, psychological, or physical, serve as bridges back to alignment. The process involves recognizing resistance, embracing vulnerability, and consciously choosing growth over avoidance. When this happens, the soul often experiences a renewed sense of purpose, peace, and momentum, like a ship riding its course after a storm. Importantly, Cayce framed these detours not as punishments, but as natural consequences of human freedom. The soul's journey is one of gradual awakening, and the path is rarely linear. Each delay carries its own lessons, teaching patience, humility, and compassion for oneself and others. The contract is resilient, capable of bending without breaking, always inviting us back to the sacred agreement that underlies our life. The soul contract we experience in this lifetime is only one chapter in a much larger, ongoing journey. Edgar Cayce's readings reveal a vast panorama of existence where the soul does not begin with this single life, nor conclude its growth with it. Rather, the soul evolves through a series of contracts, lifetimes layered upon lifetimes each, building upon the lessons, triumphs, and challenges of the previous. This continuous process is the grand design of spiritual evolution, gradually returning the soul to its original state of divine oneness. Each contract is an opportunity to deepen awareness, heal old wounds, and expand capacities for love, wisdom, and service. What may seem like failure or stagnation in one lifetime is often the preparation for a breakthrough in the next. Souls return again and again, choosing circumstances that push them toward growth that was not fully realized before. This cumulative process ensures that the soul's evolution is neither rushed nor random but carefully paced and purposeful. Within this larger framework, each life's contract contains its own unique themes and challenges, but always with an eye toward the soul's ultimate reunion with the Source. Cayce described this journey as a spiral rather than a straight line, a looping ascent that circles back to integrate lessons while reaching higher levels of consciousness. With every incarnation, the soul sheds layers of illusion and forgetfulness, moving closer to a state of pure knowing and unconditional love. The recognition that this is not our first contract can be both humbling and empowering. It offers perspective on life's hardships, reminding us that current difficulties may be echoes of past lessons waiting for completion. It also invites patience with ourselves and others, as each soul is at its own stage of this vast journey. The contracts are interconnected, and the relationships we form often carry over through time, providing continuity and deeper meaning to the people we encounter. Ultimately, Cayce's vision encourages us to see our lives not as isolated episodes, but as part of an eternal unfolding, a sacred tapestry woven from countless contracts, each contributing to the soul's gradual return home. This perspective invites us to embrace our present challenges with faith, knowing they are part of a divine plan designed for our highest evolution. Reflecting on the journey we've explored, one profound truth emerges. Your soul made sacred choices long before this life began. According to Edgar Cayce's insights, nothing you are experiencing, your relationships, challenges, triumphs, or even seemingly random moments, is truly accidental. Instead, these events are part of a soul contract, a carefully crafted agreement designed to guide your growth and evolution. This understanding reveals that beneath the surface chaos of life lies a hidden order, a divine choreography that calls you to awaken to your greater purpose. While it may sometimes feel like life is happening to you, Cayce reminds us that you possess far more power than you realize. You are not merely a passenger on this journey, but an active co-creator with free will to shape your experience and choose how you respond to the lessons presented. The soul contract sets the stage, but how you dance upon it is your choice. This balance of destiny and freedom invites curiosity, courage, and compassion not only toward yourself, but toward others who are also navigating their own sacred agreements. As you move forward, consider reflecting on your own life through Cayce's lens. What themes keep appearing? What relationships challenge or inspire you? What gifts or wounds call for your attention? These questions can act as gateways to deeper self-awareness and soul remembering. To nurture this awareness, cultivating daily spiritual practices, whether meditation, journaling, prayer, or simply mindful presence, can help you tune into the subtle guidance of your soul. Compassion for yourself and others softens resistance, making it easier to embrace the journey with openness. Above all, maintaining a sense of wonder and curiosity about life's hidden patterns invites continual growth, reminding you that your soul's story is unfolding in sacred time.